Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to this edition of the Crash Course Fun Around Drag Racing Podcast. Whoops. Jumped a couple calendar days ahead. We're really looking forward to Monday's show there, but this is going to be a good one too. Fun Around Drag Racing Podcast coming to you right now, number 77 on deck here, and you loaded it up. Jason,
tried.
You filled this thing. There's a lot going on here this evening. We're going to be talking with Vince Musolino. He's on the phone right now, and then we're going to be talking to
Robert
Bauer III as well about his win out there at Columbus. So it's going to be a full one. And you had the red car out this weekend.
I did. I had myself some fun. Yeah, it was an adventure, but it was fun. So yeah, we won't get into too many details about that because it was kind of embarrassing, quite frankly, because I was so bad. It wasn't too bad. It was fun, if nothing else, and I helped Billy Lieber this past weekend. They had the Quick 16 program out there, and he ended up winning the Quick 16 with the Corvette, so it wasn't a total loss of a day. We had some fun out there doing that.
You did what everybody always wanted to do, though.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Take out a borrowed car.
Yep,
right?
I will say that I got some funny looks, and people were saying, "Okay, don't tell me anymore. I don't want to know." So, but yeah, it was like I said, it was interesting. It just showed me how terrible I really am at doing anything but what I do normally, which is super gas racing.
That's been turned into.
One of these days I'll get into foot brake racing and spend some time and try and hone my skills. But for now, for anybody that's watching, if you ever see me out at the track and I'm foot brake racing, pull up alongside me because you want me first round.
Oh, man. Deep staging, not our friend. So Vince is on the line here. You can hear Vince in the background there. They're busy frantically working on a bunch of different cars, and sounds like they're endeavoring some pretty serious upgrades on one of them.
Well,
as we spoke.
It sounds like Vince is trying to do something with a converter, and I'm guessing it's the Nova. I don't know for sure. Is that what you're working on now, Vince?
We're talking about some converter stuff, but we're not just doing regular maintenance, just checking valves and going through everything.
So
talking about trying to get down a small tire down a sticky race or a slippery racetrack.
Right. So for those of you that don't know Vince, you were the NHRA Division I Top Dragster champion in 2018?
16.
Geez, was it that long ago, really?
Yeah,
wow.
I've seen that, but it was 16.
Yeah, time flies. Holy cow, I can't believe that. So yeah, most people that know you, Vince, basically know you in your beautiful dragster, running the big dollar bracket races out at ESTA, and then traveling the Northeast, basically doing some top dragster. And I don't know, have you ever done any super comp racing with that dragster too, or just top dragster?
No, never no super comp, just top dragster.
Okay. So that's how most people know you. I have to say, the ESTA Outlaws thing is completely new to me. I didn't know about this group, and I didn't know that you were involved in this. I guess, tell me a little bit about it, and I guess, how did this come about?
So this was something that started a couple years ago. Obviously I'm very involved with the promoting different things at the racetrack.
Yep.
And, the whole Street Outlaws thing on TV just became very popular, became a fan favorite kind of thing, and obviously it's most important about getting people into the racetrack,
right?
Seeing them there.
Yep.
So we started this a few years back. I bet you it's been maybe 2-3 years that we started this. 2 years. I think this is the third year now.
Okay.
We created a list, just like all the rest of them, and currently on the top of the list right now is Jim Bersani with that station wagon. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it.
Oh, yeah, I know it for sure.
He's currently on the top of the list here locally. We've had like 3 or 4 list races scheduled for this year, but between the Corona and rain and this and that, it's all of them have been canceled. So, we have, right now we have a 10-car full list, and we got 4 or 5 kind of new builds or buys or whatever.
Yep.
Of guys that want to get on this list. Right now the list is fairly fast, and it's not an outlaw style race. They're all cars with steel doors, steel quarters, steel roofs, alternators, radiators. It's not quite an outlaw thing, as more of a street outlaw thing.
Yep.
The cars have to be registered, inspected, plates. You probably won't see too many of them going down the street. But they're a little different than like the Empire Outlaws, where they're more like a true outlaw car. This is more of like a street outlaw kind of thing.
Right.
So we started a couple years ago, and it's grown and it's grown and it's grown, and it's continuing to grow.
And the list, is it just let's call it a single list? This weekend, right, is a small tire race that you're putting together, or you have put together?
Well, so we had a bunch of list races scheduled, and as I said, the Corona thing, a bunch of them we got. In fact, 4 of them we've had canceled.
Wow.
So I've decided, as being 4 got canceled.
Yeah.
There was originally scheduled like a fastest streetcar race for this weekend that required a drive and all that, and it didn't get not a lot of cars were interested in the drive.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a race that I was putting on. So the guy canceled it. So I said, you know what, we haven't had a race. I'll take that day, and we'll just do like a cash days kind of thing.
Sure.
It's $130 thrown in the pot. It's all the same rules that we run our list race format with.
Yep.
And, we just pull from the chip and winner take all.
Okay.
And then we had a race scheduled for August, which also got canceled. I canceled it because I was in contact with some racers from Albany, and they wanted to come down and race us.
Yeah.
So they got 10 cars coming. We're going to bring 10 cars, and we're going to do another cash day style race. And,
Yep.
We do first round. It's Syracuse versus Albany every round.
Okay.
Or, every pair. And then second round, if there's 5 Albany and there's 5 Syracuse, then it's perfect.
Yep.
5 and 5. If there happens to be, 6 Albany and 4 Syracuse, then 2 of the Albany guys are going to have to run each other.
Sure.
Until we come up with a winner. I guess that's who's the winner of the event. Syracuse or Albany, but winner still takes the purse.
Yep.
So it's like I said, it was something that I started 3 years ago, and I'm just starting to race in it this year.
Oh, okay.
With this Nova. Yeah, this is like I haven't even ran in one of the events, and we've already been testing with the car. We've been to Cecil, and we've been to Empire, and we've been to ESTA, so we've done some testing and shown really good results with it so far. So we're looking forward to bringing it out this weekend.
So in all your testing travels and stuff like that, what's the atmosphere been like at those tracks? What have you been seeing?
Well, we did a test thing down at Cecil, and it was just a track rental. So there was just us and another car there. It's far different than obviously anything I've done with the dragster. Far more work too, actually. As far as looking at data and making decisions, and that dragster, you just put it down on the racetrack and go. And this thing is so very far from that. You don't ever want to go. Actually, you always got to work on it.
Now the dragster. Are you running a Pro Charger on the dragster?
And we had a few issues here, and there, which we got ironed out, and we tested a few times here at ESTA. We haven't really been to a race yet with it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Are you running a Pro Charger on the dragster?
The dragster is a Pro Charge car, yes.
Okay. And it's incredible, really. The drag, I don't know. Have you ever gone in the 5s with the dragster?
No. Nope.
I know you've been close.
No, this dragster here has a smaller Pro Charger on it, so it's probably only really cranked up maybe a 630 car in the right air.
Only.
But I've never really got into that qualifying game of having to go, try to go way up to the top. I just do what I have to do to get in and just bracket race.
But what's crazy is the fact that you have a dragster that runs 630 in the quarter mile, and it's close to zero maintenance.
Zero.
That's.
I mean, it's been. I mean, I just bring this car back and shut it off, and don't put no battery charger on it, and just leave it. I mean, it doesn't need anything. It's really, when I made the switch to the Pro Charger, I was very interested in it, and I'd been interested in it for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Back when I had the green nitrous car, and I'd been it was very intriguing to me. It was something different. And,
Yeah.
when I sold the green car and did this one here, I just don't really know if I'd ever have another bracket car without a Pro Charger at this point.
Who did we have on the show when we first got introduced to that Pro Charger conversation?
Oh God,
I can't remember.
I don't recall. I mean, there's
We got an extended riff on the Pro Chargers and the pros and the cons and the differences and
everybody that I know that has one and that runs one, they love them. It's like, you build yourself a mild motor, I mean, fairly mild motor. You put a Pro Charger on it. You don't have to kill the thing. And, if you're in a dragster, you're going out and running mid to high sixes pretty easy.
I run this thing at about 9 to 10 pounds of boost, which is virtually very minimal, with a small blower, and it's been 664 at 204.
That's incredible.
And I mean, that's the way that I run this car. When I show up at ESTA Sunday, that's the way it's set up right now.
Yeah.
That's, virtually the slowest I can make it go.
And how fast is the Nova over the same distance?
Well, we can't give away secrets.
Upper to mid fours. But it is a completely different feeling. I mean, I will tell you, I was out testing I hadn't had the dragster out this year, at this point when I was out testing this Nova. And a buddy of mine, they put another motor in their dragster, and they asked me to hop in it and make a test pass just to make sure everything was okay. And I made a pass, and it went like 470 something. And I came back, and I said to my buddy Scotty that helps me, I said, man, I think I might be done with dragsters. I go, that was boring. And, then the next day I brought mine out, which goes 420s, and I said, well, that's what they're supposed to feel like. I said, so I could deal with mine, but I can't. If it was a 471, I'd probably have it parked, or for sale right now, actually.
Yeah, and again, it's like, I just think about it. So, at the opening of the show, I was mentioning how we were out at Empire this past weekend, and I was helping Billy Lieber run his car in the Quick 16. And, he was running his car basically high gear only. So shifting into second gear, basically a tenth of a second, and he was running like 520s. And it's crazy to me to think that is a super gas car now, where 30 years ago when we were running out at Lancaster and they had their Quick 8 program, Mike Janis at the time, he had his old Cutlass that was running 5.0s to 5.20s, depending upon what year it was. And it was like, that was the baddest door slammer around.
It's amazing what technology has done with these motors.
Yeah, it is really incredible. Dragster-wise, heck, a 470 dragster 30 years ago, that would have been number one qualifier, Quick 8 every single night. Uncontested.
Yep. And now you got supercomp cars going sixes.
Right. I know.
There's a handful of them all running six. If they run them wide open, run sixes.
Right. Yeah. It's crazy to me. Now the Nova, we talked a little bit right before we went on the air. So it's a 72 Nova.
72 Nova, yeah, with a 388 small block, just a conventional one, not an LS. 76 millimeter turbo. It's set up for Ultra Street.
Okay, and now is that? I'm assuming that's a low.
Would run if we plan on going to Yellow Bullet if the higher powers let us race.
Right.
That's the class that would run it is an Ultra Street.
Okay, and that's what compression are you running on that motor?
10-to-1.
Yeah, that's the
10-to-1 alcohol motor, 76 millimeter. The car's got to weigh 3,200 pounds. It's all steel, everything except for the hood.
And it's crazy that, you take that mild small block and you put a 76 millimeter turbo on it in a 3,200 pound car, and you're running in the fours and the eighth.
Yep, and it makes over 1,500 horse at the tires.
Wow.
That we had it hub dynoed.
that is crazy.
Now,
Now, are
actual
all,
number because there might be people listening, but it made over 1,500 horse.
Now, are all the cars on the list? Are they all on your list? Are they all like that?
A good portion of them. I mean, I know that, Jim Bersani's he's on there, and obviously I know his numbers also, but we'll just say that he was over 1,500 also.
Yep.
We got some cars that are off the list. We got a twin turbo Nova. I don't even know what year Warren's is. Same body style like ours here that made 1,800. It's a big block Chevy with twin turbos.
Oh my God.
Wow.
It made over 18s. So, I mean, we got nitrous cars, we got turbo cars, we got pro-charge Dodges, which small block Dodges, and nobody ever sees those.
Right.
So it's, there's a pretty good variety of cars, between his wagon and Novas, and we got 70 Camaros, and obviously Mustangs are everywhere. There's a variety of cars, and it just, the fan base to something like that, people can relate to these style cars.
Sure.
To whereas, you see a dragster like mine going 420s, well, people can't relate to that, just it's a purpose-built race car. This was probably at one point driven on the street, this car. Not by me, but it was probably driven on the street.
Now, for the ESTA Outlaws, all of the cars have to be street legal.
Yes. For this cash days this weekend, we are not pushing that, but when we do our top 10 list and all that, yes, they are.
Yeah. And
this weekend's cash days, all it is 28, 10.5 or smaller tire, no W, no wheelie bars, and steel quarters and steel roof.
Now, do you typically run a big tire on your car or a small tire?
On this car here?
Yeah.
It's got a 275.
Okay.
On the Nova, it's got a 275. So, or any DOT tire. So anything that DOT, will allow, we allow. I mean, I run the 28, 10.5, 15 Pro Bracket radial on it.
Yep.
Do you have to worry about, this is probably a silly question, but do you have to worry about, you go to other racetracks and stuff like that, there's noise ordinances and stuff?
Yeah.
In order to be street legal, what are you allowed to do with your mufflers and your exhaust system?
That's a good question for Vince. I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but I actually think that pretty much, I don't know that there's any real hard, fast New York State laws. Right. And Vince, maybe you probably know better than I do because of what you're doing here. But I think if you get pulled over by a cop, they could do the, excessive noise. But if you actually take that to court, I don't know that holds up in court.
I'll tell you what, this Pro Charger car is not loud, or this turbo car is as quiet as can be. Yeah. I mean, there's rice burners that you wouldn't even hear this thing running if they came by.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Now, Bersani's car, he probably wouldn't want to get pulled over.
I've rode with him in that car to go get ice cream. But that car is, he drives it around. He has the ability to drive it around just as well as anyone else. His car is on E85. So, you can drive it around.
When you're running that kind of power, and you're running the different supercharger setups and pro chargers and stuff like that, do you have to do anything different to your intake and your fuel delivery systems when you switch over to E85?
I believe with the our Nova here is on alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
His is on E85. I know that there's a substantial difference in injector size.
Yeah.
Being that ours, both cars are all fuel injected.
Right.
Obviously, mine's gonna the Nova here is gonna burn quite a bit more than his, being on the 85, probably a good percentage more. I'm not familiar with how much more or any of that, but I do know that there's a substantial difference in injector sizes in the two cars between the E85 to the alcohol.
And you said neither one of those cars are LS cars?
What was that?
Neither one of those cars are LS cars?
No. In fact, both of them are conventional small blocks.
So when it gets super hot out like this, obviously you have to go through your tuning regimens and your stuff along those lines. Do you have any concern if you're in, I guess we don't really have a good example to fall back on right now because everything's been so shut down. You go to a big show and you're running E85 or you're running the methanol and stuff. Is there any concerns about the way the condensation can build up on those?
Well,
Being
like
on and
this
off,
thing here
being
is
on and
fuel
off?
injected, and it, it's got an oxygen sensor, and it'll self-correct to the air.
Got it.
So, it doesn't matter if it's 90 or if it's 60. This thing's going to burn at whatever preset O2, whether it's 4.6, 4.7, 4.8, and it makes the fuel corrections for it.
Awesome.
Yeah, it is. It really is incredible. Now,
it's got a Holley Efi, and obviously I've never played with, my dragsters a blow-through deal, but this Holley Efi is pretty wild.
Is that the newest Holley Efi that they just came out with?
Yes.
Okay. I will say that me being the total nerd that I am, the fuel injection units look super cool to me, and being able to have, like you said, the self-learning aspect of them seems really neat.
Yeah, and it's got me intrigued to the point where I wonder if on a dragster bracket racing, if that fuel injection with something like that is better than a blow-through carburetor.
Right.
That thing is correcting to make sure that this car is running on the preset O2
Yep.
every pass. So if you put it on a bracket dragster, and that thing is correcting all the time to, the number that you preset, 5.0 or whatever it is, it's got me wondering whether it would be better for bracket, for even bracket racing also.
Oh yeah, and cool. I have sort of wondered the same thing, to be perfectly honest. It's certainly interesting. I guess along those lines. With regards to the fuel injection, and let's even say going to the turbo car from your ProCharge dragster. How much of a learning curve was there for you?
It was a huge learning curve, and we took the car because I didn't know anything or this or that. We went and had the car hub dyno down with Carl Stevens, and he taught us a bunch with it. And the guy who we bought the car from prior to, to us owning it, has been a huge help.
Okay.
Many questions that I've had, he's kind of left the phone open for me to call whenever. He's went on the little team viewer if I had a question to get onto the computer.
Yep.
And answer any question that I've had, and he's been great. And this car came out of Texas.
Okay. Yeah, and I will say that's kind of one of my big concerns for me personally, being a normally aspirated, carburetor guy. Anytime I think about going to a turbo or a ProCharger or fuel injection, it's the learning curve aspect of it really scares me to the point where it's like, I don't know, do I really want to go down that path or not?
Well, it was very intimidating when we first started. But I just got to the point where if I did something that I was questioning whether what I was doing was right or wrong, I would just X out of it. Don't save nothing and X out.
Right.
Where I was and start over again.
Yeah, I guess that's the nice thing.
Because it is very easy to get lost in this thing. There's preset parameters for this and for that, and to shut fuel off when it does this, or give it timing when it. It's just that possibilities and options of things that you could do in these computers are absolutely endless. So I just try to keep it basic.
Now, does the fuel injection system, does that tie in directly to the grid system? I'm assuming you're running a grid system on this too.
No, the Holley is also the ignition. It's the ECU, it's the ignition,
it's the whole
it's the
thing.
data recorder. The Holley ECU does everything.
Oh, interesting. Huh.
So it's a pretty really cool setup.
Yeah, I'm going to have to do a little digging into this. It really does sound pretty darn interesting, for sure.
It's got traction control built into it. Everything is all built right into it. It's got its own, dash that connects to it, and it's got preset buttons on the screen where, we go up with a timing curve, and, if my buddy says, hey, that track looks like garbage out there, you better turn it down. I just can hit a different switch on the dash, and I can turn it down a couple degrees.
Wow, that's pretty nice.
You learned this weekend the traction control has to be off.
Yes, yes. In super gas, traction control is not allowed, but yes. But yeah,
and it's frowned upon.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So this weekend's race, we're coming up unbelievably on a half an hour, and I told you I would only keep you a half an hour. So this weekend's race is a cash day style race. It's $130 to enter.
$130 to enter. 30 goes to the track for allowing us to do it.
Yep.
And 100 goes back in. We're going to pay first, second, third, fourth. For winner, runner-up, semis. And I know, thinking we're going to have right now in the 12 to 15 car area from what I've been told.
Yep.
So it should be we do a chip draw. It's should be pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, so certainly for ESTA is. I'm assuming ESTA is allowing spectators at this point.
We are not, unfortunately. If you come in with a racer,
right,
you can come in. If you're not with a racer, and you could maybe just race a street class. I mean, anything at this point would help.
Yeah.
You can bring anybody you need to with you.
Well, yeah, and I will say that's what I did this past weekend at Empire. It was $25 to enter as a spectator, or $35 to race street. So it's like, well, for $10 I'll go race street, right? So
yeah, and we get people that they pay to race and they don't even show up and race. They just pay to race just to get in to watch.
Right. Right.
Unfortunately, as much as these style cars are what the track was able to profit on, like what comes through the gate.
Yep.
We can't have them right this time, and hopefully that changes here real soon. So that's kind of what we asked to be done. If you can't come in with a racer or no racer there, that we have trophy classes that are very reasonable.
Yep.
Just stick it in there. Go have a good time, watch a show. Because I'm sure that with this heat, there'll be a lot of pedaling, and it'll be quite a show to be seen. Yeah,
no, I agree. I bet you it'll be very, very entertaining for sure. And certainly, if there are any potential competitors out there that want to get in on this, I guess I would encourage you to look up Vince Musolino on Facebook and contact him about rules and everything else, as far as whether or not you can get in as well. Which I'm assuming is, if you had a car that meets the rules, right, the more the merrier, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Now, quickly before we let you go, we didn't talk at all about the Twin 10Ks. So those were scheduled for earlier in the year, I think, when COVID was
scheduled for last weekend.
Right. So now it's September
12th and 13th.
Okay, and that's
we have a very big following of Canadians, and I moved it for them, which I'm still not thinking that they're going to be able to attend. I don't see that, unfortunately, at this stage, I don't see that the border's opening by then.
Right.
But unfortunately, I'm still going to have to do what I got to do to make it happen. It may be better. In the summer, we've always dealt with the extreme heat, which last weekend I'm very thankful that we didn't run it, because it was the extreme heat.
Right.
Between the extreme heat and graduation parties, and it really made a lot of different obstacles. So hopefully things start loosening up and the COVID stuff gets better, to where people are a little bit more apt to show up. The weather's cooler, and hopefully it'll be better.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
at this time of the year.
We'll certainly cross our fingers. So for those, for any competitors that might be watching that might want to compete in those, what's the entry fee for the weekend for both races?
I believe it's $375.
I would say I remember it being very reasonable.
Yeah, it's $375. For the weekend, it's two 10-granders. It's I tried to make the money, even on the round money part of things, fairly good. So it was good all the way through. Nobody went a real top heavy race, but
right.
You also have to break even with it too.
Sure.
Yeah.
And for information on that, was that can they find that right on
there is a actual Facebook event page. That race is sponsored by the Design Joint.
Okay.
So it's the Design Joint Twin 10Ks. It's got its own Facebook page, which you can follow. I'm going to here real soon, I'm going to start doing some raffles, which have been very, very popular in the past.
Yep.
With, like $20-$30 for whole weekend entries. So somebody will get in for $20-$30.
Sure.
I'm going to start doing those here real soon. I'll open up the high roller pre-entries. Those fill up quick. So we'll start getting moving forward. Moving forward on that. I'm not gonna say I dropped the ball, but when everything with this Corona stuff happened, I really didn't see much happening by July.
Right.
So I just left things be until it got closer, and I just decided that I should just leave it be for right now and search for a better date, which is very difficult to do with everything that's going on. With everything that's going on and trying to work around everybody else's dates, and
right.
Because I'm just very big on, I don't like scheduling on top of people. I don't think that that's fair to the racers, the racetrack, anybody. I hate when it gets done to me. I try to stay on the same weekend year in, year out. And,
yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, unfortunately, this particular year it's been tough, and I know with the Western Super Auto Association, I did the same thing that you did. I basically waited until it was okay, we're going back racing. I didn't think that it was right to essentially release 6 or 7 revisions to the schedule, hoping that something might happen. It's like, I'm not going to reschedule anything until I know that we're going back racing. So I completely agree with what you did, because I did exactly the same thing. And I think
I just want everyone to come, just like yourself. Just everyone come, have a good time.
Yep.
I always I know what it's like, and I'm sure you do too, to have to drive home all night long on Sunday night and go to work the next morning.
Right.
So I do everything in my power to get everybody out of there by 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. So I mean, even if you're 5-6 hours away, which is usually about the extent of the traveling we get, if you win the 10 grander. You normally don't care about driving through the night, but you're still home by 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, it is nice, and it is nice. And I remember being, I've been there a couple of times, and the show runs very smoothly. You do a great job with it, and so certainly I would encourage anybody that's looking to potentially go, maybe dip their toe into the high dollar bracket races, to take a look at the twin 10Ks that you guys are putting on, because they're good events for sure.
I can tell you that I haven't talked with John Cera yet. I called him actually today, and he called in on the other line as I was talking to you.
Okay.
Being that the races are a couple weeks apart.
Yep.
About possibly doing a little point series between the two of them.
Oh, that's an interesting concept.
Yep.
I haven't even passed it with him yet. Like I said, so if he's listening to this, he's going to hear about it before I tell him. Before I even ask him.
Well, we'll get.
That it might be a good way to get some of our racers that don't normally come, maybe to come there, to get some of his racers that normally don't come here to come here, and maybe it can affect, help both of us.
Right. Well, we'll see if we can get John on the show in the near future here, and we'll confirm all of this for everybody.
Yep. So, because his race is 2 weeks following.
Yep. All right, well, that's been, we're pretty much right at the half an hour mark. Vince, certainly appreciate you coming on. Anybody that you want to thank or while you're on here before we let you go?
I mean, obviously the racetrack for giving me the freedom to do all these different crazy events, whether they think it's goofy or not. They've never, ever questioned me, and they always they just let me run with whatever I want to do. And Mickey Thompson, APD, the Design Joint, and my own sponsors that have been great for me, great, behind me from the get-go. Some guys they've all been really good.
All right. Chris, anything else?
There's lots to digest there.
Yeah, I mean, it's 30 minutes is quick. It goes very, very quick.
It's very fast.
Yeah, it is very quick.
Very.
Well, we'll definitely, we'll have to.
I'm working on these cars, and I said, I got to do this podcast. I'll only be 10, 15 minutes. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Well, we gotta follow back up afterwards. I got a ton more questions.
Yeah, we definitely got to follow up, and I know you're not far from you're not around the corner, but you're not far from Seneca Falls. We'll have to have you in the studio sometime for sure.
Yeah, we could do that. Yep, maybe 45 minutes from there.
Yeah. We'll definitely keep in touch and let us know how everything goes.
Okay, I will.
All right. Thank you very much, Vince.
Man. We'll talk soon.
Us.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Goes Vince. Now we got to shift gears, and we're going to get Robert Bauer on the line. You think he's still popping champagne bottles?
So I don't know if he goes by RB3. A lot of people call him RB3. So he's won some pretty big races in the past. So I'm sure he was happy. I believe this was his first Wally. Yeah. But yeah, I have to say that, like I said, he's won some pretty big races. So
Hey, it's Chris with Final Round. Can I put you in?
I was just going to say, I hope that
This is Chris with Final Round Drag Racing Podcast.
we're a couple of minutes late, so I was hoping that he would hang around, wait for us. So we're good. Robert, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hey, thanks for joining us tonight. Appreciate it. So I promised you, and I will stick to this promise, that we'd have you out of here by 8 o'clock because you said you're busy, you got some stuff to do. But first, congratulations on your win last weekend.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So this was your first NHRA, let's call it sanctioned event win, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So, which I won't say that it surprises me, but I mean, Chris and I just quickly were bantering back and forth. He's like, "You think he's still, popping champagne bottles?" And I'm like, RB3's won some pretty big races already. And to be honest, I'm a little surprised that this was your first win for an NHRA division event.
Yeah, I mean, I won the NHRA Open in Toronto.
Right.
But I guess it technically, depends on who you talk to. It wasn't, I guess, really a real divisional win. It was an open, but I guess for the amount of rounds that I went that weekend, I would consider it a pretty good win. But yeah, I guess it just has to do with that we don't really run NHRA, a lot. We usually do, depending on the schedule.
Yep.
And the races that are out there for the year. Sometimes 3 to 4. Sometimes a little more. When I first got my dragster built. When I came out of juniors, we ran NHRA a good amount, and then we just sort of veered off into the big money bracket races, stuff like that.
Yep.
Just because it sort of gave you more seat time and more passes in the weekend, and just the money prize too. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, that's obviously when you're going on an NHRA race, you're racing, let's call it, for the prestige and for the Wally. If you want to go for the money, that's when you go to Milan and you do the 1.1 million or something like that, or even stay home. And we were just talking to Vince Musolino about his twin 10Ks, or obviously Sierra runs his twin 75 hundos that he's got going on, which you've won twice, I think, right?
I've actually never won the Twin 75s. I won his Labor Day race.
Oh, okay.
His Labor Day high roller, his 10K that he has. I won that 3 times.
3 times.
It's probably the better
one.
one.
Year, so every year he had it. I either won or runner up, and I think I semi'd one time. I can't remember exactly.
Did you win that? Was that last year? Did you win it again?
Yeah, I won it last year again. Yeah.
Yeah. I was saying, I remember watching you win. It's like, man, this kid at this particular race is like just can't be beat. I would say, is there anything that you would attribute to that too? Is it just because it's sort of your home track, or is it the format, or
10,000 pieces of motivation?
Yeah, right. Is it the motivation?
I'm not really too sure, honestly. It's just sort of, I guess. I don't know. It just maybe puts your head a little bit more to the grindstone when you say you got 4 rounds to win 10K, and it's,
right.
It of course is a good chunk of change to enter. But I guess when you look at it, it's only 4 rounds for 10K. 4 or 5 rounds for 10K, whatever it is. It just sort of like maybe gives you a little bit more motivation than an 8 or 9, 10 round race.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It probably is. I guess let's call it easier to keep your head in it because it's not such a marathon.
That's exactly right, and I was just going to say that too. Is racing these 8, 9, 10 round races, you really got to be disciplined,
right?
With your car and yourself mentally.
Yep.
Just be able to hit the tree every time, good, and have your car be on its game. When they run that race there, Sarah's race, the Labor Day race,
Yep.
you usually finish that race within 3 to 4 hours.
Right.
So the car doesn't really have a chance to vary much, and usually you can put a good set of hits together on the tree, within that time frame. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Now, this past weekend you were running the Nova, which I know you've been driving. You've been driving the Nova and the Dragster, obviously. I guess I kind of felt like your dad was maybe driving the Nova more than you. I guess what made it so that you hopped in the Nova this weekend and it wasn't your dad driving this weekend?
My dad hasn't really drove the Nova or the Dragster much at all the past couple of years. It's really been me. But it just, I don't know. My dad really likes the crew chief and, watch the cars go down the track and, just watch me race. And, he's done it since he's been 18 years old. And, he just enjoys that more, I guess you would say. He's got his car that we're finishing up here for him. That we'll have out in the next 2 weeks.
Yep.
That he'll be racing, so he'll get in that thing. But as far as like bracket racing goes with the Nova and the Dragster and that stuff, he sort of just likes to sit back. I guess you could say somewhat relax, not really, because he's still got a crew chief and just watch me race.
I would say now your dad's car. He bought a new chassis, right?
No, it was a complete car.
Oh, it was a complete car that he got.
Yeah.
Okay, because was his old car? Was that a Bickle car?
It's actually a G-Force car.
The new car or the old one?
The new one.
Oh, the new one's a G-Force.
Yeah. The GXP was a Stroop car. The new one, the '69 Camaro that we have, is a G-Force car.
Yeah. Okay. And so you're hoping to have that out in a couple of weeks. Is that what you're working on tonight, or are you doing maintenance on the other cars for this weekend?
Actually, a little bit of everything tonight. Maintenance on the cars, doing some stuff with the Camaro, and doing some stuff on the rig and stuff. So
okay, all
right.
Right.
Sort of all over the place tonight.
Yeah. So I guess what are your plans, kind of going forward now for the rest of the year? I mean, I don't even know, to be perfectly honest, Robert. NHRA are they still running a points series for the year? I'm assuming they are.
In last race there, it was just sort of up in the air. Every single day you just sort of heard something a little bit different from the officials and the friends that we got there, and it was they didn't really have an answer, and I guess you really don't really know what the season is going to hold out. It's sort of changing every day. I mean, there's a race in Virginia, Pete area race, and we were thinking about going there if the car was done, but now they selected that state as one of the states that you're not supposed to go to or whatever.
Right.
So that sort of put a damper on things, but you just sort of got to wait and see.
Yeah, and I know that I don't know. Is it another national open, or is it a sports nationals? I thought that I just read about at Epping. Is that coming up soon? I thought I saw.
Yeah, I think that's coming up in the next couple of weeks here. I think I saw that too briefly when I was scrolling through.
Now, there's no points for that, obviously, but I mean, if you were to get confirmation that, obviously racing has really just started up, let's call it, from a divisional standpoint. So, I mean, at this point, to start the season off like you had with a division event, I mean, that's pretty nice from a point standpoint. If they thought that they were going to do a point system, are you thinking about maybe going to a couple of races and seeing if you can string a couple of wins together?
I'm definitely going to keep it in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
I looked a couple of days ago. I was number 3, and I only have one race claimed.
Right.
Or two races, 2 division, sports nats and
Yep.
divisional. And the people in first and second had a couple more races than me, but so it definitely struck my attention when I saw that. But yeah, like you said, you just sort of got to wait and see what happens, and what races are canceled and what races are going to occur, and go from there.
Right. Now,
last thing you want to do is go someplace. Then you go someplace, you have an okayish weekend, and then you got to stay in your house for 14 days.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing. I mean, and I have to say that the whole points thing, it's sort of, especially the beginning of the season. Well, I mean, it doesn't really matter. Let's call it. It's sort of a blessing and a curse. So you do well, you win a race, and now you get, let's call it, sucked into. Well, I got to go chase points because I started off the season well, and who knows how the things go, and it could be, let's call it, just a big waste of time because you end up sucking. Let's call it the rest of the year, right? On the flip side, you could say, well, I'm not going to go to any races until the end of the year. Now you put together a string of races, and you look back and you're like, geez, why didn't I go to stuff earlier? I could have, won the championship. It's really, really hard. And I don't know that there's a good answer as far as what you do. I guess if you keep losing, that's the only good news. If you keep losing, you can just say, all right, well, I'm not going to do anything because I obviously am terrible. But yeah, in your situation, like I said, coming off a win like this, it would definitely make me say, geez, do we want to go to a few more races and see if we could, potentially put our name at the top of the list here?
Definitely, for sure. I mean, if you got to be confident that you can do it. If you're thinking that you're possibly going to lose and worried about losing, then I don't even think you should even bother pulling the car out of the shop and put it in the trailer and leave the driveway or leave the shop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's definitely in the back of my mind, like I said, and I do have confidence in the car that it can win, and it obviously can win, and I have confidence in myself that I can hit the tree well and drive the stripe. But like I said, we just got to sort of wait and see what happens.
Yeah. And I guess, do you have a preference, running the Nova or the Dragster? Or do you like running one over the other?
I mean, I like running both. There's sort of two different atmospheres, going 440s in the Dragster and, 16s in the Nova, or, 890 at 187 compared to 1090 at 132.
Right.
It's just sort of two different deals. I definitely like running the Dragster, bracket racing, all out. And I like running the Dragster 890 Super Comp racing. It's, like I said, it's just sort of two different deals. And it's nice because you get two different situations and viewing points from the driver's seat in each one,
Right. So you started off, I guess I probably knew this, but probably forgot, I guess I would say as well. So you started off in juniors, and I'm assuming ran out at Lancaster in the junior program there for essentially from the time you were probably 8 years old or something?
I actually started a little bit late in juniors just because I played a lot of hockey as I was growing up, and I think I started juniors when I was about between the ages of 10 to 12. I don't remember exactly because it was, a good amount of years ago. But, yeah, I ran the series at Lancaster and Empire and ventured out a little bit, but just mainly stayed local just because they ran a really good series, close by us. And, just sort of evolved from there into a full-size dragster and then the Nova, and hopefully get into the Camaro this year, once we get it all situated and, figured out and go from there.
It's really incredible. I mean, I have to say that the junior program for teaching kids the basics, let's call it the basics of racing, I mean, what you're supposed to do, it's really incredible because, I mean, you're a very young man still, and you've racked up quite a few big, impressive wins, particularly for your age, and it really just goes to show, those years spent in the juniors, getting that experience of, how you do your starting line procedure and driving the stripe is exactly the same whether you're going 75 miles an hour in a junior dragster or you're going 190 miles an hour in a super comp dragster. But it's amazing how that experience really does translate to success in the big cars.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure. It's able for you to get your feet wet and just driving the junior as far as staging procedure, and not even staging procedure, I guess pulling into the water box would be the first step, and I guess even go before that as far as strapping yourself in and mentally getting prepared, preparing the car.
Absolutely.
And then, going down the track and leaving the starting line. Yeah.
So what are your plans now, I guess, coming up in the short term and long term for the rest of the year?
Short term here, as far as if anything doesn't change, we got a couple big money races we're going to try to attend, as long as nothing changes. The SFG race in Columbus, I'm going to pre-enter for. Okay. I think we're going to do a little bit of testing when we get the new car out at Empire. Yep. We'd like to go to the last 3 PDRA races in Virginia, Maple Grove, and I think Galot is the other one. and I guess we'll see what happens with NHRA.
Right.
You know, as the time unwinds, what races are, you know, going to be changed or added on. It was sort of nice having the double at Columbus this past weekend.
Right.
You know, just getting sort of two chances to go at it, you know, instead of if you lost first round, you know, you load up and go home. But it was cool to have two chances.
Sure.
Yeah, I know that. So I won a national open at Maple Grove. Sorry, it was at Maple Grove, and it was the open and the division race at the same weekend. And yeah, I mean, I won the open, which we ended up finishing that after the division race had already finished. And yeah, it was nice to have a second chance, and then to win the race was just, you know, icing on the cake. It's like, you know, it's always nice not to have to load your stuff up early and limp home with your tail between your legs after Saturday, you know.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure.
So, all right. Well, like I said, I know that we promised that we'd get you out of here by 8. We don't want to keep you too long. We know you're really busy. Before we let you go, anybody you got to thank, sponsors you want to hit up, anything like that?
I just really can't thank my parents enough for giving me this opportunity to do what I love doing. You know, my dad, for always helped me out and, you know, gave me good advice. And, you know, like I said, being my crew chief, standing behind me and, you know, just making sure I try to do everything right. And if I do something wrong, it comes back, you know, constructive criticism goes a long way. And, you know, we just got a really good bond working with each other. And, you know, my sponsors, K100, Red Horse, NGK, VP, FTI, Mickey Thompson, they all give me great products to work with. And, you know, they definitely help me go to the winner's circle, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I want to say, you know, definitely enjoy that time with your dad, because yeah, it was a big deal for me and my dad as well. I mean, working on the race car, and we were very, very close because of that. Yeah, so definitely enjoy that. Enjoy that time. It's precious for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure. Yep.
All right. Well, let's Chris. You got anything else that before we let RB3 go?
I do not. I'm just anxious to hear about the next one.
Well, yeah, I'm going to say, you know, Robert, definitely, you know, keep in touch with us. Let us know what you guys are up to and what you got going on. And, you know, sometime, hopefully, we can get you and your dad into the studio here and, you know, spend a whole hour with us on the show.
Yeah, for sure. And one last thing. Thank you to both of you for giving me the opportunity to be on here and, you know, interviewing me and, you know, going over a few things. It's greatly appreciated. Hey,
it's our pleasure. We really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show, Robert.
Sounds great. Have a great night.
Hey, thank you. You too.
See you now.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye.
He's a super good kid.
What a nice boy.
Oh, I mean, yeah. RB3 is a super good kid. Yeah, I would say his dad, Bob, should be very proud of the young man he raised.
Thing about him on Labor Day.
Well, thankfully, I've only sat and watched on Labor Day as he's kicking everyone's ass. Yeah, it's like I said. I mean, when he won last year, again, it was like I just couldn't. I was actually wondering. I wasn't sure how many years that he had won that, and I don't know if it was 3 years in a row. But I'm pretty sure he won the last 2 years. So I think
But
so. It's
he
called.
said he's won it 3 times, and he's been runner-up a couple times too. And John's shows have good payouts.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's literally like, you know, the last that he pretty much can't be beat at that event, and it's like it's crazy.
The road to 10K goes through RB3.
Right, that's right. So yeah, I wonder if he's going to the twin 10Ks at ESTA.
Didn't even think to ask.
Yeah, I would say it seems like he probably should be if he's not. But yeah, great kid. Got a really bright future in front of him too, from a racing standpoint. He's obviously done very, very well for himself.
He seems to do okay with that drag racing thing. Maybe you should stick with it.
Yeah, that. I don't know how good he was at hockey, but yeah, he certainly has a future in drag racing for sure.
I thought that was bizarre. And he said that he couldn't get into the junior dragsters because of hockey. And I was wondering how much overlap with the schedule there actually was. I mean, I can see maybe a little bit if it goes deeper into springtime, you might miss some. But I know hockey isn't cheap, and you're running all over creation to do hockey. You're not going to be running all over creation to race cars at the same time.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, you know, I know some people that played on travel teams, and my guess is that if you're really seriously into it and you are good and you know, able to play on some of those travel teams, it probably does end up turning into a year-round thing. Yeah. Which is probably fine for the kids. They probably don't care, but the parents are probably like, hey, you know what? I need a break. I mean, I have to say, I mean, from a drag racing standpoint, I mean, I love drag racing. Most cases, the end of the season comes, it's like I'm ready to take a break. Now, granted, by December 31st, it's like, okay, I mean, when's the racing season going to start back again? But it can be a long season, and I'm usually ready for a break at that point in time.
Yeah, your break in New York, it starts when the sun goes behind the cloud in October. It starts when it comes back up from behind the cloud June 1st.
I would say, and
everybody's ready December 31st.
Right, yeah, and it was even worse this year with COVID, obviously. So
well, it still isn't back up to full.
No, and that's the problem here that we have, right? I mean, and it's hard, I realize, for Robert to say what their plans are for the rest of the year. It's like, yeah, here he said it's like, we're looking to go to Galat in Virginia, and so he's talking about the Ohio race. Well, it's like, well, yeah, right now Ohio is on the you got to quarantine for 14-day list. So how long is that going to be? I don't know. I mean, nobody
just made it.
Right.
Ed Brewster was up this weekend from Midlothian,
Virginia, right,
and he just made it.
Oh, because his
Virginia got put on the list. He pulled in his driveway, and like the GPS said, "You're home now. Stay there."
Yeah, it's really crazy, and I mean, from that standpoint, I guess we're not doing any traveling this year, but yeah, I'm gonna have to say that if we were planning on doing any traveling at this point, we probably would say to ourselves, yeah, you know what, we just got to sit home and wait till this blows over.
Empire's allowed fans, right?
Empire is allowed fans, correct.
And that is in which county?
That is in Livingston County.
Livingston County. Okay. So did you hear about Batavia?
No.
Genesee Speedway.
Okay.
In Batavia.
Yeah.
They jumped on the fan bandwagon.
Yep.
Started welcoming people back.
Yep.
And now they are shut down for the rest of the month of July.
As punishment?
No news.
Oh.
Their last race was Saturday. No fans.
Yep.
And they're shut down for the rest of the month at the least.
Now, I think, I'm not 100% sure. So anybody that's watching this, please don't go out there and say, oh, Jason Oldfield told me this. I thought that I had read that Lancaster was open for fans just recently, within like the last week or so. But like I said, don't hold me to that. But I thought that was the case. But I also know that everybody is very sensitive about this topic, and like I was telling you before the show, people were saying, look, I mean, if you're coming out to the track, you need to social distance, you need to wear your mask, because the instant that government officials find out that we are letting fans in and people aren't social distancing and aren't wearing masks, yeah, then you're going to end up being shut down.
The tracks that I've been monitoring fairly closely all have the CDC guideline adherence, masks, and social distance. You can sit with the family that you came with. Yep. But you have to have your mask on when you're up moving around the facility.
Okay.
And I don't know what happened, but yeah, they're done for the time being.
Yeah.
Can-Am Speedway, I believe, is back to no fans. Land of Legends Raceway has continued to welcome fans. So Fonda Speedway, I believe, is still welcoming fans. It is so widespread, the way things. Utica Speedway still hasn't. They had one race and then they closed back down.
Yeah.
Fulton and Brewerton Speedway never opened at all. Ransomville Speedway can't open. Half of the races are from Canada. It wouldn't.
Oh yeah. Right. Yeah, and I will say, the TNT Hot Rod Series, I mean, they have not raced at all this year. I don't know that they have canceled the schedule for the year yet. I mean, right now, the border is officially closed until August 31st. The last I knew, TNT's last race of the season...
Wait, maybe I missed that. August 31st. I thought it was until the 1st. Did that get extended recently?
That got extended to August 31st.
When did that get extended?
I want to say 10 days ago.
Was it? Okay. I don't think I realized that.
Yeah, because it was supposed to open back up like now.
August 1st, August 2nd.
Yeah.
Like
but yeah, like I said, I guess we could go on the website and find out, but I was told August 31st.
His decision wasn't to keep the border closed, was it?
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, I think it was potentially ours to begin with, and now Canada's like, hey, yeah, good luck, Don't be coming up here. Yeah, so with TNT, like I said, their last race was supposed to be scheduled, I believe, before August 31st. So I don't know if they're going to try and get some races in, maybe if the border opens back up. But they figured that at least half of their competitors are Americans. So it's like, what's the sense of having races just up here in Canada when we can't have the Americans come up and we can't go down there? So I mean, that certainly played havoc with them. I would have to guess that you probably have some car counts. People always have their favorite tracks, and they have their tracks that they dislike. Like, I'm never going there, and this is the only place I'm going. And so, I mean, I would have to say that I'm sure that car counts are down in this area just because of that. You have guys from here that aren't going up to Canada, and vice versa.
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting so far. I mean, we were at Lancaster for a few hours before it rained. I went out to Empire last weekend for the first time, and I will say at Empire there's signs up, and going to the concession stand, you could see that they definitely put in place the things necessary, shields and guards and stuff like that. There was hand sanitizer right there at the concession stand. So I mean, they're all doing the right things, but you still need to, unfortunately, well, I won't say unfortunately, but you still need to adhere by the rules or the guidelines. Because if you don't, then we're all going to find ourselves sitting at home without someplace to race.
Back to that point. And we were talking about the scheduling and overlapping and stuff. We're trying to condense 12 months of activities down into 6 months, or you want to look at a 6 month schedule, still trying to pack it into 3 and 3.5. It's just there's not enough space to not have stuff overlapping. Yeah. If it's going to continue to be on the schedule.
Yeah. This weekend for us, West New York Super Auto Association. So we're running a makeup race from a rain out at Empire earlier in the year. We were originally supposed to be out at Dragway 42 this weekend, which we canceled when it didn't look like things were getting better in Ohio. Right. So then when it rained out, this weekend opened up. So we said, all right, well, we'll move this race to this particular weekend. Now this particular weekend there's also a big dollar bracket race down at Pittsburgh. Some of the guys are going down to Pittsburgh, and it's like I can't do anything about it at this point. Like I said, I mean, you're working with such a condensed schedule, so it's the choices are you're gonna have some overlap and you're just gonna have to live with it, or we just don't race. So it's like, well, we'll take the cars that we get to come out and race with us because it's better than nothing. So I will say that I don't think we lost a lot of people to Pittsburgh, but I think there's probably 4 or 5 guys that ended up going down there. And but yeah, we're gonna race regardless. So
right,
if
you get 28 weekends to do your racing schedule, and now it's been condensed down into August 18.
Yeah. Weather permitting. Which, our first 2 races were rained out. Thanks a lot.
So we'll see what happens.
So hopefully, like I said, if there's anybody out there watching, you got a sick car that can run 640 in the 8th mile, you can get a light on a 5/10 Pro Tree, come race with us this weekend at Empire.
Did you get a message back or no?
That's a good question. I didn't look. I did not.
Okay.
So we'll have to keep that under wraps, I guess, for now.
So we'll be back on the 6th then, barring anything unforeseen.
Right.
Back on the 6th. Looking forward to that. We'll see everybody on the 6th of August. August already. For as long as this year was, up until, summer started. Now it feels like it's flying by.
Yeah, I'm wondering, would we have hit, I'll have to go back and look. I'm wondering if we would have hit 100 shows in 2020 if it hadn't been for COVID.
Probably would have been close to it.
Yeah, I don't think
we're 23 away now.
Yeah.
So, and we lost 5 episodes?
Probably
like around 5. Yeah. So it would have been close. We can start going every week. I mean, if you want to make this time out. I mean, if 100's the goal, what else are we doing?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, we can't get to 78 if we don't end 77.
That's right.
So that's going to be it for us this week. We look forward to catching up with everybody in a couple weeks. Thanks to RB3 and Vince for coming on and hanging out with them. Jump online, find them on Facebook, give them some support, let them know you heard about them. We will see everybody again next time. That's going to do it for this edition of the Final Round. We'll see you then.